Welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen. It's really two programs in one. This is a series that appeals to your creative side. Food that is sumptuous stuff. How could that be? This is a program about people who want to eat healthy and reduce calories. Actually, it's about food with an aromatic quality that fills the nose. Oh, sure. But it's also about keeping my arteries clean by reducing fat. But it doesn't mean a thing if the food isn't rich and colorful. Maximize the flavor. Okay, but I must have healthy food that I can cook in minutes. I must minimize the risk. So welcome to Graham Kerr's Kitchen, where we get our heads together just for you. It's a great thrill for me that you're here. I'll tell you the reason why, because there are dishes that are fantastic. This stuff is just amazing this time. It's reduction time. Now, that doesn't mean loss of weight, although that could sort of be a fringe benefit. What is really involved in reduction is where you get a stock, and you've made this marvelously aromatic stock, and then you let it simmer away or even boil away rapidly, and it goes down and down and down. That's the reduction. So what you do is you start out with a volume like this of the stock, and it winds up with a volume about here. Well, of course, what actually boiled off the top was H2O. I mean, this that went off was H2O, just plain water. And so what you're left behind with is a concentration of fluids. And if you made the fluids in the first place from bones in some way, and the bones let out their gelatin, their sort of gelatinous quality, then you get a mouth-round fullness, something like what you get when you get a lot of oil, but you don't get the fat with it at the same time. So that's really important. So have a look at the reduction there. As usual, there's a technique first, and then we'll spring into a great dish at the end called sweet stuff. Okay, ready for the tip? Let's go. Everything's ready. That music goes on forever sometimes. All right, this has been on the boil here for a while, and what I had was 2 cups of stock, and I just wanted to reduce that right down. Now, obviously, this is a chicken stock because it's for a chicken dish, and I reduced it down. Now, let's have a look and see whether you can see this. You see here, I've got a pencil mark right there. Well, now, there's not too much lead poisoning in this. I marked the spurtle there and then took it down, and it's now just about there. It's almost a 2/3 reduction, almost down to about 25%. Really, I really concentrate it. I want it to be so that, and this looks as if I'm going to burn myself, but actually, if you put your finger in quickly, it's all right. Ah, good. If you wipe it on your lips, and then your lips should almost stick together. And if you just put it between your fingers, more sanitary, really, I suppose, then your fingertips should just about go together. It's actually delicious. But okay, so that is in place of oil. So that's what we're looking at. Now, in this pan here, just a little tiny bit of oil, just to be able to kiss those chicken breasts just as they go in. I always just sort of wipe the chicken breast across the top and then put it fat side down, always leave the skin on. It's this mania nowadays for what I call a sort of the NDS, which is naked breast, NBS, naked breast syndrome, which is that just make sure that the breast has got all, skin off it. Well, the trouble is it doesn't cook very well. We'll get into that later on in the series, but these breasts are just put now so the skin is going to produce some fat in which it cooks, cooked for just 8 minutes. Here, by the way, is what it looks like after 8 minutes, and they're doing just nicely. They're just about ready. Okay, here, some mushrooms, about 1 inch across mushrooms. I love mushrooms. They have the most incredible texture, don't they? They're sort of meaty, especially when in chunks like that. When they're cut very fine and put in, they sometimes go very limp, and I don't think they sort of get that sort of, textural thing. So I just cut the mushrooms like that. There are 8 ounces of mushrooms. There's also 8 ounces of young lima beans. Look at that little tiny lima bean there, frozen. Defrost them, make sure they're nice and tender before you put them in. So 8 ounces of that. And then there's almost the same quantity, about out of an 8-ounce can, about 6 ounces of a watered chestnut. If I press a little knife through there and just push through, it's crisp. But it's not as crisp as the fresh ones are. If you can find them from an Asian market sometime, do try them and compare them with the tan ones. There's really no comparison as always, but it's a nice flavor. All right, moving on. Here are some dill fronds. Now, these are cropping up in stores all over the place now. They are magnificent and give the most fabulous flavor to this dish. You've got to go through about a tablespoonful of that and just pop that up with some other stuff that I've done beforehand, and just a little on here it adds. Did you know that in Buckingham Palace they've got plant herbs in the grass so that when they're walking around having tea, their smell of the herbs comes up and engages the guests? Isn't that nice? Okay, so that is the dill done. And then finally, lemon. Dill and lemon in the whole thing really works well. Oh, before, always roll the lemon to break the lemon up inside so that you've got, full use of every spot of lemon. This is an intriguing device. If you haven't seen this before, just join me. You just place the lemon on the top. It's got little grabbers inside here, and they grab the lemon. And because it's got an internal strainer, you do away with having to have all the little seeds there. So you can put that on one side, keep it in the fridge if you like, ready to pour the lemon. All right, good. These are sort of halfway through cooking, so I can turn them over. You don't have to go full bore with heat with these pans. Just, gently cook it. You're not in a fight, to see who's winning. It's not the Olympic Games of the kitchen. So, now, let's just take this. Look at that. Now, there's a hot skillet or a wok, and pour that reduction into that pan now. And then take the mushrooms and just drop those in on top. Now, that's a very hot pan and very hot stock. Put the dill, that's not dill, they're lima beans. I know the difference, you were going to get me on that. And then some of the watered chestnuts, all of those, and just a little bit of that dill. I'm going to put some of that on the top just for the moment. And then, one of those pans where you can use these things, just toss that around so that the dill is well incorporated with everything else, and just leave it there to just boil up. This is like a stir fry, except it's really a stir boil because it's really cooked in reduction instead of the oil which you'd otherwise cook it in. Okay. All right, let's get these little fellas out here. Out of the pan with the chicken breast, which are just perfectly cooked now. At about 8 minutes, they may just be a little tiny bit pink, but that's okay. They get stirred through the rest of it. And, there's hardly any oil there. But what oil there is, blot it out of the way, because we're going to actually reduce that. I've measured this. It can be as much as a tablespoonful of solid fat that comes out of the pan this way. No point to it, really. It's about 3 grams of fat altogether, and you said 3, 9, 27 calories, and you might just well eat that. It's 27 calories. What's the point? I don't need the calories. I don't think anybody does. Okay, so that's going nicely there. Now, here is about 2 ounces of water. It doesn't matter how much you put in, but just like that. And just shake the pan. See how it's coloring there? Well, what's happening is that pan has grabbed those meat juices. You've always got some degree of meat juices, unless it's one of those sort of non-stick pans which keep everything from sticking at all, and therefore you can't make a reduction like that. This is another kind of reduction, where water, or you could use a little of the stock and then just reduce it in the pan. That cleans the pan at the same time, and that can go straight on top with the rest of that dish. It's just beautiful. Okay, turn that up nice and high, and just stir those together. Now, it's really high now. You finish it off high, just get it in to begin with just at a reasonable temperature, and now build it up. Look at that. You see, and you've got the crunch left behind with those chestnuts. Everything is perfect. Now, just to add, if you added oil, you know what would happen? You get the gloss on it. But we're going to get gloss by a different method, and that is arrowroot and just a little water. Just stir it together, and just keep that on one side, and then take off the skin from the chicken. Now, I normally do this by quite a simple technique. Just grab a hold of the chicken breast with a pair of tongs. If you can get a pair of tongs like this, good idea. And just strip those off just like that. Always take it from the bottom, from the narrow end of the breast, and strip it forward. See? Really dead easy. Now, cut these into little thin strips. Now, we do these diagonally. Look how magnificent that is. And if you look in here, 8 minutes, see? Perfectly cooked. Just through that. Succulent bits of chicken. Now, if you're on regression stuff, which means that you've had a heart problem in some way and you really want to try and get better, or haven't had one and somebody in your family has and you don't want to get sick, then you could halve the amount of chicken breast in here and you'd really notice it in the numbers. But I'm taking the assumption that you want to enjoy this and have a wonderful time, and it's not too risky. Okay, so this is now boiling terrifically, and just take up those morsels of chicken straight from the pan. Oh, look, barbecue. Do you see that? Nice smoky smell to it. See, great dishes are born that way. And stir that in together, and then just to give that sparkle that you want the thing to look as though it has indeed got loads of fat in it, just throw that in at the end. It's just a spot. And just give it a stir, and you'll find that that starts to gloss. Do you see the gloss coming out there? Okay? Remember the lemon juice? Little lemon juice just to finish off. Look, 1,000,000 miles of lemon juice. Well, not really, just 1 tablespoonful, actually. Freshly ground black pepper, and although you'll think, oh, Graham, come on, that's a fetish. No, it's not a fetish. Just a little bit of Creole torpedo in there. Well, I'll always do it in the palm of your hand, unless it's a wet hand. Just a little, about a 1/4 teaspoonful of cayenne pepper. Drop that in. It gives it just a subtle bite there, Sneaks up on the taste buds and says, hello! And that is great. Okay, make sure that is well distributed over the whole pan. See how it looks like a stir fry, but it isn't? And then up and at it. Straight to the pan there. Look at that, will you? Wonderful. Now it's glossing and looking fantastic. And always clean this side of the bowl. Let's have a look at the numbers. Come on through. Woo! Looks nice, doesn't it? Doesn't that look fun? Steaming hot and glossy, and looks as if it had all the oil in the world and really hasn't. Marvelous. Okay, well, we looked for a reduction, and that's what we were doing. We got that chicken stock down until it became so viscous that it almost seemed like oil. Now, we're going to compare this with the chicken tetrazzini. We have actually 305 calories in that little get-together there, with only 6 grams of fat in it. And that meant 2 grams of that was saturated fat, which is what hung around with the chicken breast. We got 16% of calories from fat for the whole dish, which is a knockout. And then 86 milligrams of cholesterol, which is good, and 282 of sodium, which is super, and down to up to 5 milligrams of the fiber, which is something we're always looking for all the time. Fiber is such a good idea. We'll talk about that one day. All right, and then I just want to get some of the vegetables as well as a piece of the chicken. I'm almost going to have to see. The dill. I'm sorry, my mouth is so full. Dill is so good, and it's so juicy. And you can feel that round mouth fullness. It's just great. Try this. Don't forget the springboard, your own idea. Well, great dish coming up. It's called sweet stuff. You've no idea what is that. It's parsnips and ham hocks and... My glasses, I'll be right with you. if you're under 12 years of age and watching at the present moment, now you know when Mum says, don't eat with your mouth full. No, don't talk with your mouth full. You have to eat with your mouth full. All right. This dish here is, as I promised just now, in the midst of everything else, it's going to be another reduction, and this time a ham hock reduction. And what I did here, same thing with the, just to remind you of the technique, mark it off when it's full in the saucepan, and then see how it's got. And you see, it's 50%. So that's right down, that's a half reduction. Sometimes you see in recipes 75% reduction or 85% reduction. Now you know what they mean. Okay, so that's put on there, and that's going nicely. I just want to heat that up just a little bit. And here is a parsnip. Now, I'm British. I mean, you might have noticed by my accent. And parsnips in Britain, just wonderful things, especially, I believe, when they're nice and small, like this one. They've got a heavy root in the center or a heavy core in the center. If they're very large, you have to take that out because it'll be not very good. So this is cut up into about quarter-inch pieces, tiny little pieces, to extract as much as possible, the flavor from it. Okay? And that's put over here in just 2 pints or 4 cups of water. Now, there's 20 ounces. If you've got a weighing scale, 20 ounces, about 2.5 cups of the parsnips, and you just bring the heat up underneath and start boiling them. And when they've boiled for about 10 minutes, because you don't want them completely soft, you want them just a bit of texture in them, they'll look like this. And that 4 cups of water is important for what I'm going to do with it. Now, because you see you've got perfectly cooked bits of parsnip, but you've also got flavored water underneath. That parsnip, because it's so sweet, has a wonderful flavor water, all right? So now that goes into this pot here. And then raise the heat underneath that so that you get it really boiling hard, because that water is going to be for the pasta, for the actual boiling of the pasta itself. And this is going to be for the sauce. Now I can see, because I've got moderate intelligence every now and again, that I turned on the wrong element here. So I'll turn that one on. And if I worked for NASA, I'd never get anything off the ground. It's high tech for me, high touch. I love high tech's beyond me. All right, so that's going well. So you see what happened there. We've got this now going to be boiled up, and into there, because this is a ham hock stock that I've used, I took the ham hock and pressure cooked it. If you saw the last program, that's how I did it. And it's got meat on it as well as fat. So you take the fat and the skin off and chop all of the meat until it's very, very lovely taste, but no fat in it, all right? Very important. And just drop that down on top of the parsnips, which is in that reduced ham hock stock. So the reduction is going here like this. And now you've got the parsnips, sweetness, and that saltiness of the ham hock stock at the same time. Terrific stuff. Okay, now, then get the pasta. And the pasta is actually going to cook in 2 minutes. And I'll tell you the reason why in just a second. I'll just take a couple of strands out there and put the rest of this into the hot water. Now, this is just coming to the boil here now as water. And I just rest that and waste nothing, and show you one of these pieces. Yes, that is going to boil. This is called angel hair, and it is the finest of all the pastas. It's a tiny, tiny little shape. You see, isn't that great? And this can come in the bendable form. Well, actually, that bends pretty well. But the totally bendable form, which is the raw pasta, which you can get in little packages at the supermarket. And that will cook in 30 seconds less than this will. Terrific. Can you imagine the mania? Nowhere in the world would you ever get people who would actually go and buy something to save themselves 30 seconds. It's just cute, but still, there we are. And you say, oh, no, that's not the reason why we do it, because there's a subtle difference in taste. Basically, sorry, that was a rude noise. Basically, there is probably some textural difference, but quite frankly, if it's made with hard durum wheat and made by well-meaning people, it's going to do just fine. All right, so that's boiling, not exactly vigorously, but it's boiling, and it takes 2 minutes to be able to do. Now, how to make a sauce out of this one? Really quite simple. You just take 2 tablespoons full of arrowroot, and 4 tablespoonsful of the, just look subtly off camera. Hello? Yeah, hello. I just subtly off camera just to see whether it was 2 tablespoons or not, you see. And my friend Robert looked at me and like this. So we still don't know, but it looked like 2 tablespoons. And there's enough here to justify 2 tablespoons. So we just pull that up. Always put something metal underneath, saves scorching the board. Take it off the heat, and then pour that arrowroot into that mix. Now, I don't want to get one of those sickling kind of thing. With the reduction, you want enough gloss in it to make it seem like the textural change in the mouth without being sort of totally clogged up. You see, it's got to run smooth. And that's just perfect. So you can put that back on the heat and just get that up to the boil and put a tablespoonful of parsley into the top of that and some freshly ground pepper. So isn't it simple? I mean, this is just easy. About this time, you've had the 2 minutes of the angel hair. I bet you'll be into angel hair. 2 minutes, eh? Amazing. And just stir it all around. Make sure that it's just cooked. It should be just nicely al dente, which means to suit the tooth, al dente, you know. Wouldn't it be great if you were a dentist and his name was al dente, you know? Italian dentist. Into the pan, there it goes. And always do this to be able to rinse out the pasta. Never, never, never rinse pasta under a cold tap. Dreadful. Shot at dawn stuff. And then throw away that pasta. There's no point keeping that. And then the bowl is nice and warm for the process of tossing. And then you can take the sauce from here and just drown it. Look. I know what you're saying. It's more like a soup than pasta. Fine. Good. That's exactly when you've got fine reductions like this one. That's what you want to do. You want to have the sense of eating something which is robust enough and gorgeous enough so that you can dig into it. Look at that. I mean, doesn't it look great? Just and a little bit of the garnish, over the top. And these things are so handy. Try doing it with a pair of tongs and you'll find out. All right, let's compare the numbers and see how it works. Oh, a little bit of parsley on the top, first of all. And just a little extra parsley, it never goes wrong. And just a little touch of the old black pepper. I love it on the top because, when you eat and you get that marvelous little bite, just as you're getting into it. Oh, and it works so wonderfully well. Just to get that little, sorry, Jeeves, get that little spike, on top of it. Okay, now, there is the dish. It looks fine, it's steaming, it's just great for one of those cold nights. And here is the dish I wanted to compare it to. This is a classic, and it's just about all I can do not to dive into it. It's just marvelous. A little prosciutto, a little dried ham, and some fresh peas, and bathed in cream with Parmigiano Reggiano, with the Parmesan cheese which comes from Italy. It's just gorgeous. And the numbers for this great dish, is written in red over here on the board. And of course, the other ones, which we'll do it in green, is the dish we've just done. So, 1,054 calories for the great dish, 503 for sweet stuff. And now fat, 67 grams. Now that's enough. I'm a 2,000 calorie a day man. And I just get by on 2,000 calories a day. It's great stuff. And so, but I need about 60 grams of fat a day to within that percentage, about 30%. So I've gone. I mean, just in that one dish, I've had it. But at 11, it's good. Okay, saturated fat, 38 down to 4 for those who are watching saturated fat. Percentage of calories from fat then is down to 19 from 57, which is good stuff. Around about 1925, I like. Cholesterol, 320. That's down to just 27 now. And sodium, 1,542, that's down to 1,003, and just up a little bit with fiber at 9, which is always a good thing. Okay, let me just have a little nosh at this one. Did you know that nosh is British for eat? With pasta like this, perhaps, because it has long strains like that, you can just wrap it around until, oh dear, am I going to choke again? No, please. Oh. That's the reason for sweet stuff. It's just bathes the palate, and that reduction is just wonderful. Okay? So, do enjoy it, and lots of love. Thanks for being with me once again. Look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.